It's the top of the hour. Putting the U in HBCU. We are HSRN. You are listening to Green Talk for Brown Folks with Ryan Marshall on HSRN.
Hello, everybody. It's another fantastic show, Green Talk for Brown Folks. I'm your host, Ryan Marshall. I'm so excited to be back with you once again on a beautiful Friday afternoon. I'm based here in suburban Detroit, and you guys, it's been cold as I don't know what, so I'm definitely starting to feel like it's the holiday season. I don't know where you all are listening from. I really wish I was in California or Florida right now, or someplace warmer than Detroit. I get up with the kids, get them dressed with my wife and I, and we'll get them out the door, and you open the door, and that air just first hits you, and it's just like, ooh, is that 28 degrees outside? Yikes. I mean, and the crazy thing is, it's not even going to get that, it's going to get much colder than that here in the coming weeks and months. And so there are days we wake up, it's like 5 degrees or whatever like that. And it's just, last winter was crazy. But I kind of digress, because I think what I was trying to get into is that holiday time is here. And you can definitely feel it. There are some places that is just like, okay, is it Christmas yet? Is it Thanksgiving yet? Because you open the door and you wake up and it's like 65 degrees and sunny. And it's just like, that's not my definition of what Christmas time would be. Because normally when you think about Christmas, you think of, the snow and it's kind of overcast and lights everywhere, Christmas lights. And yeah, some places you just don't get that. But with holiday time here, you start thinking about getting together with the family, traveling. Please, everybody, stay safe. I think it's so very important wherever you go, to stay safe, mask up. It's important because we're still in a pandemic, even though a lot of people say we're in the backside of this. But what I want to talk about today is this holiday spending that people are getting ready to do, if you hadn't already started doing this. Along with the holiday season and Christmas time, is expenses tend to go up. Holiday shopping tends to go up. And so that's what the next couple of shows are going to be dedicated to, just talking about trying to not overspend. And that's going to be really, really important during this Christmas and Thanksgiving and this holiday season. Whatever you celebrate, if you celebrate Kwanzaa, or whatever it is that whoever you are, wherever you are, what you're celebrating is part of the holiday season. Gift giving, spending goes up. So what I definitely want to start talking about is making sure to not overspend. And it's not an easy thing to do, especially when you have Black Friday coming up next Friday, as a matter of fact. Next week is Thanksgiving. Black Friday is next Friday. And so it's the biggest shopping day of the year. And then couple that with, Monday, Cyber Monday, it's some crazy, crazy shopping days of the year. And so one of the things I cannot stress enough to you is having a budget and setting that budget. It is nothing worse than going way over budget. You don't have the money, and then you find some other place to use it. You either borrow it, or you go get a loan, or use a credit card. Not great things to do when it comes to Christmas shopping. If you don't have it, don't spend it. And even if you do have it, it's still good to have a budget, because you can really lose your shirt this holiday season. And so, obviously, one of the things you want to do is just not go over a budget. Make sure, if you have a set budget, I am going to spend X amount of dollars for my kids, my wife, my husband, my coworkers. If you do a Secret Santa type thing, or a gift exchange, or a holiday party, write it down. Write down what your budget is going to be, and be able to stick to that. Because once you write it down, you basically start to commit that. Because if you say, hey, I'm going to only spend $1,000, chances are you're going to spend 15 or $2,000. Okay. If I'm only going to spend $500, you don't write it down, chances are you're going to spend $750 or $1,000, a stack. And so that is so very important. Setting a budget, writing it down. Okay, so what sort of budget do I need to have? And everybody has different types of budgets or whatnot. I think what's going to be important is just getting the notion and the idea of writing and setting a budget. It's basically up to you how you want to be able to do it. I think one of the ways that you can do this literally is you say, okay, well, you set a certain amount of money aside, $1,000, and you have that. You want to go ahead and start to divvy that up. So now you got Black Friday. Okay, Black Friday is a great time to shop. I do a lot of my shopping on Black Friday because a lot of the prices on clothing, electronics, just your everyday goods, they are at their rock bottom prices because they understand that they're going to be having most of the consumers out there doing most of their shopping. So it's going to be so very important to be able to find what you need, especially on Black Friday. I think having that money in place where you don't overspend $1,000, make sure, okay, you've got a certain amount. Okay, I've got $400 set aside for the kids. Okay, I've got $300 or $400 set aside for my spouse. And then whatever else you have for family, set that aside for family. It's going to be so very important to set your budget, write it down. Do not go over it. Do not swipe for it. Do not swipe credit cards for things you cannot pay for. That is going to be so very, very important. Credit card debt is already at an all-time high. It's a phenomenon every year that in January and February, people are paying the credit card bills for the spending they did in November and December. If you don't have the money to buy it, don't get it. You see credit unions and banks give you these personal loans. Hey, need to do a little extra Christmas shopping. Here's a personal loan that you can get, and we'll give you the Christmas money that you need. And, now all of a sudden you're taking on another loan. You're taking on another expense. And so this is the time to not overspend. You got to tighten up the wallet, so to speak. So we're just getting started with GTBF. We're going to get ready to jump into a break, but I just want to be able to give you some more tips on the other side of this break. The biggest one being a budget. You have to stick to your budget. Don't overspend your budget. It is not necessary for you to get a credit card or get any sort of personal loan from a financial institution. Stay away from that if you can. Please. This could be an exciting time for you to find things that are very inexpensive, but you have to make sure to have the discipline to stick to your budget, write it down. Do not go over what you're spending. And so, and if you do go over that, then there are some other things that we could talk about here later on in the show that you can do to try to get you back down to where you need to be. But we're going to talk about that in the second segment. This is GTBF, Green Talk for Brown Folks, with your host, Ryan Marshall. I'll be right back.
You are listening to Green Talk for Brown Folks with Ryan Marshall on HSRN.
Welcome back, everybody, to Green Talk for Brown Folks. It's your host, Ryan Marshall. We're talking about holiday spending, and gosh, I love the holidays. We really, really love the holidays. It's literally the best, what they say, the best time of the year, right? You hear those songs and, all I want for Christmas is you, and, Mariah Carey and Nat King Cole and, the Temptations, Christmas and things like that. It just really just gets me in a really good mood and sends me in a really good place. But what really doesn't send me in a really good place is knowing that there's almost like this expectation now to go out and buy and do things. And now that I've got 2 kids and I've got 2 young kids, we've tried to do what we could to make sure that if we got them toys or different things like that, that we try to do that a little bit along the way. So then that way, we didn't have to come down to a Christmas where we're spending a bunch of money. And so one of the things that I think we talked about already is not overspending. It is so very important. I think one of those things that's going to really start to help you in not overspending is make sure that you get your shopping done as early as possible. Because what happens is not only are you not having that pressure of having to just buy whatever it is that you see on the shelves. Because let's be honest, we're all in some form or fashion last minute shoppers. I've been a last minute shopper before. And that, shopping on the 22nd, the 23rd, the 24th, and you're just in some places day of. You go down the street and you hope Walmart is open on a Christmas. You hope CVS or some place is open on a Christmas. Not open. Not open. Oh, there's something open. And it's some place that you're going to just spend just whatever. You're just like, look, I'm just happy to get something off the shelves. So that is going to be so very important, is you have to start as early as possible. So then that way you don't feel the pinch of trying to buy things last minute. That's I think one of those things that we always talk about. As well, is when you buy things last minute, a lot of times you tend to overspend on the things that you're buying. You're just trying to hurry up and get it. You don't care the cost. You don't have a lot of time to compare prices, or what if I go here? What if there's not a whole lot of places to go here to be able to do that? And so it's going to be so very important not to be able to overspend, write your budget down, stick to your budget, and then early shopping, or as early as you can. Don't procrastinate, because when you start doing things like that, that's when you start getting into trouble of being able to overspend as well. So here are some other things that I think you could definitely do to make sure that you don't go over the amount of money that you have set to spend. Okay. I think what has to happen is you have to make sure that you set your holiday expenses, the expected holiday expenses. So okay, I've got Thanksgiving dinner that I got to cook. I know that I've got to do some Christmas traveling. We're not going to cook, but we're going to travel for Christmas. I think one of those things that you do is you write down exactly what it is that you're going to spend. So I know that I'm going to spend at least $300 cooking the turkey and getting the stuff for the dressing. If I got to go to the ham store to go pick up a ham or do this grocery shopping, I've got to get another this or that. Write that down. Write down what your expected travel costs are going to be for when you go out of town, or when you travel wherever you're going to go. I think we talked about already, and if you haven't thought about this, then I think you should just stick to using just cash or currency similar to cash. So I think sometimes, you could even use a debit card, which would probably be better than the credit card, but that it's still, you get to swiping. So if you have the opportunity to just use cash instead of using a debit card or certainly a credit card, then that's probably going to be the best way, because it's much easier to overspend if you swipe for that credit card. If you swipe with that debit card, even though it's not linked to a credit card, just the action of swiping, you sometimes don't feel like I'm running out of money, as opposed to if I have $400 in hand and I've spent $150 on this TV and $75 on these toys and another $100, and now you're starting to feel that, oh, okay, I got $75 left, I better slow it on down. Chances are your mind is going to slow it on down, as opposed to if you just swipe for $100 or $150 and then swipe for the $75 toys. You don't know, because you can't see your budget, or you can't see your balance, and then you're just going to continue swiping. And so I think that's going to be very important. Another thing you could do is tracking your purchases. You have to be able to track what it is that you're spending. Make sure that you understand it's not just enough, I think, to keep a Christmas budget, but you also have to be able to track what you're doing as well. And so I think that's going to be so very important to be able to track it. We talked about also taking advantage of those Black Friday sales, Cyber Monday sales, or any other really, really good sales like that. They are out there. They really are out there. That's going to be so very important to be able to do that, and do some research ahead of time, so then that way you know where you're going to go, what you're going to get, and have a strategy with that. That's going to be very important to be able to do that as well. And that's something that I think you can certainly do. You want to be able to think about this now. To not have to feel this pinch, I think a lot of people, and maybe I could have had a holiday show in January to start talking about it. Start setting money aside each month early. That is something that we've done. Our strategy, my wife and I, our strategy was to get gifts every now and again for the kids, so then that way they don't feel like, they don't have the things that they want. We've tried to have experiences for them, so they feel like, okay, hey, we're going and doing different things. We have experiences. We've gone, there's a great museum that they like to go to called the Henry Ford Museum. And what we did was we went on ahead and got a season pass for them. And I think the season pass was like $180 for 2 adults. It was free for kids 5 and under. Well, Henry Ford Museum, which has a lot of great things there. Henry Ford is part of Greenfield Village, which is the outdoor experience that they have. They had a lot of different exhibits at the museum. That could be upwards of $50 to $60 per visit. Okay, and so what we did was we went on ahead and got a season pass, and we had experiences throughout the year. So after 2 or 3 trips, it was almost like an every other weekend thing. We would go to the Henry Ford Museum. Getting experiences like that are going to be really, really good. Saving up and setting money aside each month for your holiday shopping, so then that way you don't necessarily feel the sting and you're taking money away from your necessary monthly expenditures. If you have to use a credit card, and I'm trust me, I have credit cards, and I'm very disciplined in my credit card spend. But if you have to do it, okay, then I think the best way to do it is make sure if you're using a credit card, you always pay off the full balance. So you spend $1,000, you pay $1,000. You spend $500, you pay $500. I do not recommend using credit cards to do shopping during Christmas. I recommend using cash, which is going to be the best thing to do. The next best thing, but still not on my recommended list, is using a debit card. But if you have to use it, because I understand I'm not a person all the time that likes to carry a lot of cash, because, people just do what they do and they're pickpocketers. But if you have to use it, use a rewards credit card. I mean, a true heavy hitter rewards credit card. And if you have it, each time you spend money, you're getting something back for that. And so one of my favorite rewards credit cards I have is what I use is everyday Chase Sapphire Reserve. I have the Chase Sapphire Reserve credit card, where I'm getting points back every time I spend money on that credit card. And then those points allow me to be able to use it for airfare. I could transfer it to any of the different places. If I want to transfer that to Southwest, if I want to transfer that to Marriott or whatever, I could take those points and be able to do that and get something back in return for that. So if you have to use credit cards, please try to get something back on it. I frown against using credit cards this time of the year. And so I don't want to encourage that. Also, use coupons. There is nothing wrong with using coupons. And you'll get a lot of different savings when you cut coupons, you do things like that. Use that all year long. I think that's going to be so very important to be able to do that indeed. And so you definitely want to be able to use coupons if you can. Go through your Sunday paper, do things like that to find different sales and things like that over and above a sale that you might see on a Black Friday or whatnot. Now, sometimes they may say you can't use a coupon for an extremely deep discount, but some retailers allow you to still use a coupon for that. And so those are some ways, some other tips that you can use for saving money during the holidays. I'm going to jump to a commercial break, and then we're going to wrap up the show, and we're going to continue this conversation next week. We are literally less than a week before Thanksgiving, a week out from Black Friday, and I thought it was going to be so very important to have this conversation. And so we're going to come back to segment 3 and wrap up the show. It's Green Talk for Brown Folks with your host, Ryan Marshall. We'll be right back.
You are listening to Green Talk for Brown Folks with Ryan Marshall on HSRN.
Welcome back, everybody, to GTBF Green Talk for Brown Folks. It's your host, Ryan Marshall. We're talking about holiday spending, and it's that time of year where everybody is ramping up their holiday spending. Just expenses start to go up, and spending starts to go up and things like that. And so we're talking about ways that you can keep costs low for the holidays, and things that you can do to try to make sure that you stay financially solvent, not just through the holiday season, but then also going into 2022. And it's very important. I think we've all heard this conversation. And if you haven't, they keep talking about the cost of goods, the cost of gas, the cost of food, things going up. And obviously, inflation is much higher. And so I think we have talked about inflation in the past, where inflation is considered the tax of time. And so the average inflation rate is about 2.5% annually, which means the cost of things today are going to cost almost 3% more next year. And the year after that, and the year after that, the power of your dollar is decreasing each and every year. But it's more significant this year because the country is starting to come out from underneath the lockdown, starting to come out from the pandemic. And so when part of that is supply and demand, and when the demand was low, there was a lot of supply. People weren't driving as much, and so gas prices were low. A lot of people working from home. People weren't flying as much, but now people are coming back out, and now these companies and you're getting airfares at its highest. It seems like food has significantly increased. The cost of goods have significantly increased. I hear about these supply chain issues where a lot of these boats off the coast are stuck, and so there are supply chain issues where there might not be as many supplies to be able to build the goods that you can go out to use for Christmas. So just think about those things. When you start to open your wallet up, the cost of food is going to be a little bit higher this year. The cost of gas when you travel is going to be a little bit higher. We're going to talk a little bit more about that next week, and we're going to talk about some more tips on what you can do and take a little bit of a deeper dive into trying to save money, trying to cut back, especially this time of the year. Not the easiest time of the year to be able to do it. So I'm really, really happy to have this conversation. Holiday spending part 1. We'll continue the conversation next Friday. It'll be Black Friday. Hopefully we'll be able to talk to you and talk some sense into you before you go out and you go spend that dollar. Maybe some of you guys will already be out there 5 o'clock in the morning sitting in front of Best Buy, waiting to get in to get 3 TVs or whatever. Whatever it is, make sure to do your research, do due diligence, and try to use cash when you go out and spend, set a budget. All of those things that we talked about today is going to be so very important. So until next time, this is Green Talk for Brown Folks, GTBF, with your host, Ryan Marshall. We'll see you next Friday. Black Friday. Happy holidays. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Thanks for listening to Green Talk for Brown Folks with Ryan Marshall on HSRN. Follow Ryan's social media on Twitter at Ryan H. Marshall and on Instagram, RHM WealthWave. You can also connect with him via email at ryan.marshall@howmoneyworks.com. That's ryan.marshall@howmoneyworks.com. Join him next Friday at 1 p.m. for another edition of Green Talk for Brown Folks.